Good evening, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba here on the evening of Saturday, November 28th, 2020. And I wanted to do a report here, sitting in for Paul Harvey this evening. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, Americans, as you've seen in the last week to 10 days, the news outlets like ABC, CBS, CNN, you name it, they put out there lines of people waiting for food and, lines of people for waiting for to be tested for COVID to go flying or go out of the country or out of the state for Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. And the people that are waiting for food that say that they don't have any, and the people that have lost their houses so far because of COVID-19, and you're saying, oh man, look at all these lines, and this is extraordinary. Really? It's not extraordinary. You've had this in history. You just didn't hear about it. 1837, the Panic of 1837. There was a lot of people that lost their lives, let alone everything they had, because of Andrew Jackson and the guy who they blame, Martin Van Buren, because he was president during that time. But it was actually Andrew Jackson who created all that mess. 1873, the Panic of 1873 under Ulysses S. Grant. That was as bad, too. And don't forget about the Panic of 1907 under Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, right. But the one that you should be looking at is Hooverville. There was a lot of Hoovervilles all over the country. Shanty towns that came up because of the Depression. And the reason they were called Hoovervilles is because everybody blamed President Herbert Hoover for the Depression. You got to remember, he was only in there from March till October. So that's what, 3? Because it wasn't January, people. Remember, it was March 4th. To October 29th when the crash came up. So that's 6 months. There's no way he could create that. The people you should blame is Warren G. Harding and Calvin Coolidge for creating all the things that caused the crash. Buying short. That means that you could buy stocks for 1/10 of what it was actually worth. So you buy short, you didn't put up the money for it, and then you hopefully sold it. And what happens when it crashed? Yeah, no money there, right? Yeah, now you see what I mean. It's the same as what's happening here with the virus. But anyway, back to the story of Hooverville. There was a lot of them. The most famous ones were in Seattle. The one in Central Park in New York. They had one in St. Louis, which was huge. I mean, that was the biggest one in the country, was the one in St. Louis. Ask the people who lived through it in St. Louis, if you don't believe the alien here. Mr. Harvey would. He lived through some of them. He was a kid. But the one that really haunts, even to this day, and the media doesn't refer to it, was the Hooverville that was formed at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. by veterans of the First World War. And they were called the bonus because, remember, for veterans of the First World War, Mr. Woodrow Wilson, president at the time, said that you would get a bonus if you went and served your country. Well, when the war ended and he had a stroke and the Republicans took over, and you know Republicans, as in Trump, because the Republicans that took over, Warren G. Harding and Calvin Coolidge, ran the country like Trump did and really drastically made it crash in 1929. Herbert Hoover had nothing to do with it. But anyway, these veterans wanted a bonus. because they were hurting for money and they didn't have any food or nothing, so they put tents up there. Now, Mr. Hoover, he ordered the military to go there and destroy the tents. So he ordered this one general to go down there and run his horses through the tents. There was a lot of people trampled. A lot of people died. Go back and look at your news reports at the time. The ones that actually wrote it, because there was a few that didn't want to write it because they were scared of the government. But there was a few that wrote it. Harper's Weekly was one of them. And look at the pictures. They have pictures. They're still around. And the general that he ordered it to do that, Douglas MacArthur. World War II's Douglas MacArthur. Yeah, he's the one that went in there and took those veterans who didn't have nothing to their name. What are you going to do when somebody does that here with the pandemic and goes in there and puts a shanty town, and they're going to call it Trumpville, I believe, and puts it on the National Mall? They're going to do the same thing? Who are they going to order there? They don't have a general of stature like Douglas MacArthur back in those days to do it. Anyway, this is your favorite alien in Bubba, sitting in for Paul Harvey this afternoon. And now, you know the rest of the story. Good day.